No
Yeah,
worries.
how's it going then? You in Brighton or whereabouts here?
We are in Hull.
Oh, that's
It's
the one, yeah.
very, very close to Brighton, but has its own distinction.
Ah, okay. But yeah, cheers for sending over the tracks and whittling them down. I know it's a tough job, but
Pleasure.
yeah, you managed to do it, which is ace. But yeah, Johnny, obviously not spoke to yourself. You've not been on the pod yet. Um,
I've never even seen you before. I don't even know if you're an imposter or the real Harry.
don't think many people trying to imitate me. But yeah, obviously good to get your insight, really. Like, I was listening back to Jimmy's episode, and he's chatting about Magneta, the band that Jimmy and Dom had before the others.
Mhm.
Am I right in thinking you were in that?
No, I wasn't in Magneto. I was in. Me and Jimmy were both in. Jimmy was in a band before Magneto, and I was in a band before the others. And we used to play a lot of shows together in Brighton and surrounding area. Um, and but I did see Magneto, and I like them.
Ah, okay. So yeah, you had like you never in the same band until the others, though, is that right?
No,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we originally said that we were gonna form a Jesus and Mary Chain tribute band together one day, but then we did the others instead.
Yeah. I did say to Johnny back in the day, there in the '90s, that one day we will get a band together and we'll just make a complete racket and there'll be chaos and stuff, So
Mission accomplished.
I've come true.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into the song choice and stuff, but I guess were you? I don't know, Jimmy. You said you were a bit older than the rest of the band.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
were you kind of? Is it all kind of first time round for you, Johnny, in terms of like hearing the likes of the Strokes and everything? Was it quite don't know, big important as it was for the rest of the band type thing?
No, the Strokes were entirely unimportant to me.
Okay, right.
When I kind of started getting into music, it was kind of grunge was coming out, and I really, really disliked grunge, and it put me off American bands for a very long time. And if it hadn't been for grunge, I probably wouldn't have listened to a lot of 80s bands and tunes that I did, in fact, listen to, because there was literally nothing around that I liked listening to. So I kind of looked back. So I got into a lot of 80s stuff in the early 90s. And then sort of when 1994, say new wave of new wave and Britpop stuff, is kind of when I started getting into stuff that was a bit more contemporary.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I did say, I mean, you were at that gig as well. We both went to the first Strokes gig in the UK, which was at a tiny pub in Brighton.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I think it was their first headline.
yeah. But I was kind of intrigued because I quite like the mischievousness of hype in general. So, and they were obviously being very, very hyped up. So I did go to that, and I thought they were. I was not amazingly impressed, though. It was about an hour or so of my life that I was mildly entertained for.
Would you concur with that, Jimmy?
I'm a fan of the Strokes, Harry, and
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the gig. And that was, even though I was older at that point, it was a bit of a life changer for me. So I think Johnny and I probably have sort of slightly differing views on that band, but I really rate them, and I rate their album, their first album, and it was a bit of a sea change. I think it was one of those things that only happens once every generation. Everyone changed the way they look and their hairstyle and everything, and the music they listen to. So yeah, for me, it had a positive impact.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't even know if Dom was into him. I didn't hear him reference him. I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would have been about 2001. I think Dom. I'm not sure. I think he doesn't mind them.
Yeah, I think Dom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's more keen on the likes of The Fall or whatever. I think, isn't
he? Yeah.
Yes, to be fair,
yes. He has mentioned them.
Yeah, I was watching the video you posted of signing they do with Alan McGee and stuff. It's quite fascinating to
You can
watch.
see how our haggard faces 20 years later now.
But who was filming that?
Smiling more. So that's quite nice.
Yeah. Who was filming that at the time?
That was a friend of mine called Ross Shepherd, and we're back in touch actually just recently. But yeah, he's a lovely guy. He's from Brighton, and he makes films. And that's what he does really. And he just offered to come round with us in the early days, and he followed, come round with us for a few weeks and got some real sort of important footage really.
Was it a project Tuesday?
No, I don't think so. It's just off his own back.
Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Maybe.
No, is it fascinating to hear like the interactions with Alan McGee and stuff about potential producers and stuff like that? But yeah, that was it.
Real moment captured in time there, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'd recommend any listeners to go and have a look at that on the Others YouTube channel. But yeah, obviously you've come on in part as well to promote the stuff you're up to. Like you got a gig celebrating 20 years of the second album, and then a new album itself coming out. Is that right?
Yeah, new album's coming out on the 20th of February.
Yes, yeah,
is that right? And then the gig is on 20th of March, so people have a month to kind of learn the songs, so we don't have to. Yeah, it's kind of quite exciting, I think, because Inward Parts we haven't played as much as the first album, so it's like we've kind of been trying to work out everything we did, and it's been quite a cool challenge to do.
Because some of the songs,
rehearsing.
Some of the songs have more than two chords, Harry. So it's been.
Yeah, what was it like? What was it like for the last one, for the first album anniversary?
It was good. It was fun. I think we were talking about this the other day, and to be honest, it's like quite cool at this point as a sort of a mental and speed challenge, because like all of those songs, first and second album, were really, really fast. And to actually go back and learn everything and see if we can kind of deliver it in the sort of same sort of way as we did, I think that's kind of quite gratifying. And I think that, like, the second album's really good. It's really underrated, and I think it's I think it will be really exciting to sort of showcase those tracks again, because we did do it like in sort of the middle of 2005. We did a tour, or maybe towards the end of 2005 we did a tour, and I would say like 80% of the set was brand new stuff that hadn't even been released, and it went down really, really well. And so it's quite cool to sort of learn all the songs again and just bring it, because obviously it's like it certainly didn't get the same level of exposure as the first, so it's kind of nice to revisit it and do that again.
Yeah. It's probably a good segue, to be fair. Like, you've picked a song off the album to play tonight.
Yes, it's the biggest pop song we ever did that was never a single.
All right. Yeah, you don't want to introduce it.
Are we going to be playing the songs?
No, sorry, it's all pre-recorded. We'd have to do that.
We don't have to.
No, it's going to be pre-recorded. Yeah.
Right. So we were thinking about for sort of toilet breaks and things like that.
We're
not going to hear any of the songs that we painstakingly chose for this podcast.
Well, you hear when it comes out, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. I feel a bit let down, to be honest, Harry. I was hoping that we might get to hear the songs that we played, that we chose.
Right.
It would be almost the best club night ever.
I'll have to share my screen and stuff. It'd be a bit of a...
No, it's fine.
But do you want to introduce the song? Always Be Mine by the Others?
It's the biggest pop song that we ever did that was not a single. Enjoy.
Okay. All right, cool. And then, yeah, in terms of being productive, like, are you in quite a good space with the band at the minute, where you're constantly writing new things?
We were quite prolific recently, because we did an album in 24. and then we wrote a lot of songs, and we went into a studio in Brixton and when we were going to record the fifth, and then we ended up recording the fifth and sixth in the same amount of time, which is good. And we've sort of divided them up so they're kind of quite a different feel between the two. But we were going to record like about sort of 11-ish songs, but we ended up recording 21 songs. So we did 2 albums in the same space of time. And then, so I think we're kind of writing a little bit now for the idea of the 7th, but that's not going to be out. I shouldn't think it would even be out next year, will it? We'll probably record it next year.
Probably the year after.
Yeah.
But adding to that, I think we'll probably come to this later on, but because there's more of us now that we're a 7-piece, more people are coming along with original ideas for songs. So therefore we are getting a bigger amount along now. So yeah, we're sort of tapping into quite a rich vein, I'd say, but partly due to the increased numbers in the ensemble.
Yeah, the process changed a bit then, really, in terms of songwriting.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, does Dom still just write the lyrics, or does he get involved with the music at all?
Yeah, he's always the lyrics person, Harry. Always been the same, really, and it seems to work for us. So we'll bring the music, and Dom will do the lyrics always, and yeah, it works. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's crack into the songs then. I'm just going to go off the playlist you curated, so I'll have to ask you who picked what, to be fair. But 80s Matchbox, who was that choice?
That was me.
So why this band? Why this song?
So as we mentioned earlier, Jimmy and I were both in bands previously to the others. We played a lot together, played a lot around Brighton, and then their band, it was called Colourburst. And they did a bunch of gigs at schools for War Child. And they kind of invited us to come along to some of them. And one of the gigs that we did at someone's school was witnessed by Guy McKnight of ASB Line. He actually told me this years later about how much. Well, he didn't actually. To be fair, he didn't mention Jimmy's band, but he did mention the band that I was in. He was kind of really into that. And when they came out, this was before, like when ASB Line did their albums. I'd never met Guy or any of them, but I did actually like them. I thought they were quite refreshing and quite different from everything else that was going on. But what happened was that we ended up with the same management company as ASB Line, and then I think it was about like 2004, 2005, I found out that the guy actually lived 2 doors up from me in Brighton. So it's been like this weird sort of connection where, so we kind of knew each other at that point. But the ASB Line have always been very, very sweet. I think they've been very, very innovative. I don't think any band has sort of sounded like them recently at all. I think they're kind of quite original. I think that he was an excellent frontman, lots of energy. I think the music sounded unlike anything else, and very, very sweet people, very, very nice people. And it was weird, like a few years ago, I was in like on a random holiday in Margate, and I was walking back to where I was staying, and Guy was in a kebab shop. It's like none of us lived there, but it was like, what's Guy doing? It was like there's been this like weird sort of thing for since like 1996,
mid 90s,
where kind of we've been kind of meeting at various points, and it's a really good track, and that's why I chose it.
And I second all of that. I'm a big fan of them. A great band and a great Brighton band, and I used to go and see some of their early gigs in Brighton, and we kind of we become friendly in that, and then lovely people and a brilliant band.
And we played with them in Islington at Scala, I think it was. And no, not Scala.
Scala,
the ICA, is it ICA, something like that. But yeah, really good band, really, really nice people, and which is often a rare combination. Yes.
All right, well, let's play the song then. Here's 80s Matchbox Beeline Disaster with Celebrate Your Mother. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, were they part of your scene, really? Because I guess they didn't really fit in as such to any of the naughty scenes. I don't know, really.
Much like ourselves.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
Despite sort of conspiracies to try to lump us in.
Yeah, they sort of preempted it a bit, I felt.
They were far more interesting than
Yeah.
the naughty scene.
Well, and they were around sort of maybe 2000, 2001, or maybe even possibly before that. So I think maybe they became part of that scene in some ways, but I felt that they were slightly outside of it, a bit more original, as Johnny says. So yeah, and I think they were slightly earlier as well, possibly.
Yeah, yeah. And just going back to forming the band, am I right in thinking that Dom came to you, Jimmy, and said, right, we need a band because I've booked a gig? So was your first thought, right, I'm going to contact Johnny?
Well, actually, you are right. He contacted me and said, "Can we get the old band together? I booked a gig," and I said yes. Why not? Let's just go for it. But to be honest, the two other people in the old band, they weren't interested at the time. I think they were doing their own things by this point. So my first thought after that was, yeah, I know exactly the person to go to, which was Johnny. And fortunately, he jumped at the chance straight away. You didn't hesitate, did you?
What I would say is I had some unexpected spare time and reluctantly agreed to be part of it.
And he's never forgiven me since.
So were you not in the band at that point, Johnny?
I did like Magneto. I think Tom's a good front man. And it was quite exciting. I liked the idea that there was a gig in 2 weeks or something like that, and there were no songs. So it was like we had 2 weeks. Obviously, we weren't rehearsing every day, but we had like maybe 2 rehearsals.
Yeah, something like that.
2 rehearsals in 2 weeks, and then played the gig, which I think is quite exciting, and it appealed to my anarchic nature. But I think originally we were thinking, yeah, we'll do that and that'll be it. And here we are 20 whatever years later, still doing it.
Yeah. So were you not in a band at that point then, Johnny?
What point? I wasn't
when you got asked to be in the others.
I wasn't in the band when I was asked to be in the others, because that's why they asked me to be in the others.
No, I mean, were you in another band at that point?
No, I unexpectedly had some spare time. So I wasn't in a band. Like the band, I was in a band before called Fizziwig, which was kind of like a cabaret, novelty, cartoony sort of band. And it was, we weren't doing anything at the time, but Jimmy kind of contacted and said there's a gig in 2 weeks. Do you want to do a thing? And I think he said, like, Dom, you knew Dom from Magneto. I was like, yeah, cool, let's do that. So we wrote some songs and had 2 rehearsals and played the gig, and it was exciting to do that.
Yeah. Sorry, let's go into the next song then. A band that I recognised when I was listening to the song. I was like, I'm sure I recognise his voice, and realised it's the theme tune to Sopranos as well. That
Well, this song isn't.
No, yeah.
But it's the same band that is. Yeah. Phenomenal band. I've taken this so seriously. I've written pages of notes because I thought I'm never going to be able to talk about this on the spot. So, Alabama 3, I've enjoyed since I first heard them, which was about 1998. And they were phenomenal live. They were kind of like really all-encompassing. They kind of did this show, which was kind of like a preaching to a congregation, very, very theatrical, which is really kind of, I love that sort of thing. I think the songs are really good. I love that they kind of combine so many different genres in each track. I love how inauthentic they are. That they sound American, but they're kind of like, well, the song that you're going to play, the main singer is from Wales. The other singer is from Scotland. None of them are from Alabama. None of them are even from America. But they were really, really completely innovative. And their live show. I mean, I like the song when I heard it. I heard it on the evening session, but when I went to see them live, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It was unlike anything I'd seen before. There's also another link to us, which is obviously our previous 2 albums and the forthcoming album have all been recorded in Brixton. We've been recording at Brixton Hill Studios, but the first single, I think on the video that you talked about earlier, we're talking about going to re-record This Is For The Poor. And we do that in Brixton at the Dairy Studios. And Dairy Studios is where Alabama 3 did a lot of their debut album. There's that connection. And when we first played Glastonbury, it was really, really rainy. It was awful when we arrived, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was horrendous. I'd never been to Glastonbury before. I've only ever been to Glastonbury when I've been playing Glastonbury, and I probably think I wouldn't go to Glastonbury if I wasn't playing Glastonbury. But we played, and then the next day there was glorious sunshine. I went and saw Alabama 3 on the Avalon stage and drank cherry brandy very wholeheartedly. And it was phenomenal. And it was really cool to see them. We also did an acoustic show at Jam, which is their club in Brixton. So there's kind of been various points within the stuff that we've done, which kind of there's like various. I mean, I kind of did know them a bit for a little while because I quite like their club night at Jam. It was played a lot of very, very varied stuff, very, very old sort of country stuff and very, very new, really sort of urban dancey stuff from Brixton, as you'd expect. So the kind of I think they're probably one of the best bands of the last 30 years, I would say, in terms of innovation and doing something that's like actually genuinely interesting. And so I've chosen that track. Yeah, it was fun, wasn't it?
Okay, so let's play it. And here's Alabama 3 with Too Sick to Pray. And then, yeah, speaking of that Glastonbury, just because Dom referenced it when I first spoke to him as an example of you guys maybe wanting to spend some time away from him or in separate groups. Just wanted to get your take on it. I've already asked Jimmy about that, but just get your take on it, Johnny, like the dynamic of the band kind of thing. How was that for you?
Very good question, Harry. So I think actually the dynamic of the band now is probably better than it ever has been. And I think there's sort of there's like a mutual respect, I think, between everyone. I think probably like in our early days, we had different ideas of what constituted fun, and different ways that we would want to spend our spare time. And we were probably also younger and a bit more confrontational. So like the band now is actually very, very it's a very, very pleasant experience, but there have been times when it hasn't been very pleasant. But I think I think there's quite a connection where Dom and I do kind of connect with songs. I think like some of the songs that we've done together are really, really good. Very, 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 very like emotional, and I really, really appreciate those. And I think that like when we were sort of in our heyday, I think it was a very, very tense period. So there were quite a lot of arguments, and now there aren't very many arguments. Would you kind of agree with that? So yeah, I mean, I'd say the dynamic of the band, as I said, is like it's probably better than it ever has been. It's really fun, and kind of like when you're young and doing all that stuff, because we were pretty big in a way. You know, I think it's there's quite a lot of pressure, quite a lot of, and it's a very, very tense situation. And we are quite different people, but I think we've got kind of like a shared sort of space where we connect really well.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think like that tension can be like used as a good thing though in some ways? Maybe give you a bit of an edge.
Probably was.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if anyone could be bothered to harness that tension in the same way now, but I think it probably worked to kind of create some stuff at like in the mid noughties.
Yeah, particularly live, I think.
Yeah,
energy.
Live.
Some of the energy was harnessed.
Yeah, but I think
there and
live,
possibly recording as well.
Yeah, I'd say live we always connected, and it was. I mean, I think live we were very, very good always, and I think like the most tension was when we weren't playing live, is what I'd say. But I think kind of we worked around it and came up with good stuff.
Yeah, I think Jimmy, you said you could be quite frank with each other when it came to songwriting type thing. Was that a positive for the band, really?
Yeah, I think it was, and we all had such sort of disparate influences, I suppose, and we were all probably pushing the kind of songs we wanted. And yeah, we could say, look, this we don't like this. This is rubbish, or what you've brought along we don't like, and yeah, we could do that. And I think we, in some ways, we were all the better for having different influences, because what we did do was slightly more original. It wasn't as generic as it could have been, you know.
I think it was a lot more original. I think with the disparate influences were really, really valuable, because whatever individuals might come along with would be different from what other individuals were coming from. So we actually did create stuff that didn't sound like anything but the others, because you could only create that by having such different influences that because it's like you kind of have bands and they're kind of like, oh, we've been listening to whatever to do this album, and there was never a point where we were all listening to something to do an album. So what you get is songs which are made up of radically different things that are all put together in like a weird sort of mishmash way, which is why everything sounds only like the others. I would say.
Yeah, and how would it work between you two? Like, was there an obvious like rhythm and lead type separation, or not really?
Well, me and Jimmy?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously in the early days I was playing bass and he was on guitar.
Right.
So when we've both been playing guitar, I mean, I think we both we play guitar very, very differently. I think, like, I mean, certainly on the new album, the songs that I've originated, I've asked for Jimmy's lead to be on all of those, because I love how Jimmy plays guitar. I think Jim is massively underrated as a guitarist, and so he, like, that's kind of what kind of creates the different sort of stuff. I kind of think that Jim is very, very good at channeling his influences, as well as kind of innovating from his own space with his guitar playing. And me and Jimmy don't originate songs that sound anything like each other.
No.
So, but I think I really like kind of that clash of influences. I mean, that's the thing with it. Like, for example, with Alabama 3, there's a massive clash of influences, which kind of they work around and kind of they amalgamate into something different. And I'd kind of say that's sort of what we do a little bit, because I mean, I don't know what order you're playing things in, but there's kind of other things where I'll kind of say, well, my guitar playing's like this, and Jimmy would play something completely different. But that's that's how I think it would be quite boring if everyone listened to the same things, and wouldn't actually be worth bothering with. I think it's actually only important because we have such far-ranging influences, and that's why the songs don't sound like anyone else.
Yeah. I'm playing it just if it helps. I'm playing it from the playlist you sent.
I can't remember what that was, Harry.
I
Sorry.
think that was yours first.
But was it?
Yeah.
Mostly mine first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mainly.
Can you remind me what the next one is, Harry?
I will do, yeah, of course. I mean, it's maybe one people wouldn't expect, but definitely a banger of the time. Outcast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a sort of joint. That's a kind of joint one.
Yeah. And that's very, very simple. Is because we were playing a lot of gigs at various indie venues, and there seemed to be a weird coincidence that they would play Hey Ya before we went on stage, and so we thought, well, let's do it deliberately. So for a load of gigs, we then asked for Hey Ya by Outcast to be played. I think it's a good song.
What a phenomenal tune it is. Anyway, how can it not be in any list of 90s great pop songs?
And then there was I guess second summer of 2005, and often after that we would end the gig with Somewhere Over the Rainbow with Judy Garland. That would be which we would ask. So it was kind of like, I mean, I probably wouldn't have heard Hey Ya by Outkast if we hadn't been playing those venues at that time. Right. But yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to come onto. So that's why it's on the list.
Okay, so here it is. Then here's Outkast with Hey Ya. Then the next song, I kind of forgotten about this song, but I think it might be my favourite LCD Sound System song, to be fair. Tribulations. Why this song?
Because, so it is my choice again. Sorry, it wasn't deliberate. So, like we did the first album. So people say like your first album's like a amalgamation of everything you've ever listened to, and your second album is kind of different. So second album, like LCD Sound System and Eels, which you can play later, were the first times really I kind of came back around to American music, and I thought it would be very, very cool if we did a track that was kind of inspired by LCD Sound System. I really like them, but I think and then for the second album, there's a track called Desolate, which was kind of my attempt to do something in that sort of vein. And we did do a demo with Paul Schrader before we did the album, which and it was pretty like an authentic sounding thing. When we actually recorded it for the album, it was a bit more sort of punked up, and it's still good. It kind of works with the rest of the album, but it was kind of I guess partly the Alabama 3 stuff kind of got me into the electronic stuff, and then LCD Sound System coming out and kind of almost sounding British helped me go, yeah, okay, I do quite like some American acts. But yeah, it was the Tribulations was a track I think I played to Paul saying I'd like us to a track that sounds like this, and we came up with Desolate.
Cool. Well, let's play it then.
It sounds like LCD Sound System and Queens of the Stone Age and Zig Zig Sputnik and like a bunch of stuff. So because that's what I was saying earlier, where we kind of just put loads of things in each song, but it does kind of it doesn't actually sound like LCD Sound System, but there's just like a slight vein of LCD Sound System in that.
Okay, cool. All right, well, here's LCD Sound System with Tribulations. You mentioned Paul Schroeder just because he comes up in that video, doesn't he, from when he signed any contracts? And there seems to be a bit of skepticism from Dom about maybe he'd fallen out with the Stone Roses or something. But how did that work out with him?
I don't think anyone had fallen out with Stone Roses. I think we'd done a demo of This Is for the Poor Metway in Brighton, which is a Levelers studio, hadn't we?
That's right.
And I think the record company and the management company were saying, re-record it to kind of make it reflect what the live version of the track is. Like the original, right. Like the demo is probably has been released somewhere, hasn't it? But it's very, very different feel to it. It's really good. but it's not quite as sort of full on. But that was the first track that we did with Paul Schrader. Obviously, he did the first album, but and that was the first track we did with Paul Schrader. It was at the Dairy in Brixton. It was the first time we'd really done anything with a named producer.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, we were always kind of quite wary about pretty much everything, weren't we? We were pretty cynical about everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's quite good to have both versions. And I think the re-recorded version that we did was quite powerful, wasn't it?
And Paul was lovely, lovely to work with. Really, he really put us at ease, and it was great.
Yeah, but how did he compare
to Glenn Morangi? That was the other thing he did. His claim to fame.
Never met him. How did he compare to other producers then, out of interest?
Good question. He was very easygoing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In a positive way. He had his input. He was very effective. I don't know.
I think when you and I heard the mixes of the first album, we were a little bit kind of taken aback with how raw it sounded. And there's certainly something to be said for that level of rawness. I think that his kind of remit was to kind of try to capture what we sounded like live on record. With the second album, it was a bit of a different process. And we had Dave Allen, who did all of the Cure stuff between 84 and 92. He'd done Depeche Mode, he did the first Sisters album. It was a very different kind of process.
And Mark Ralph as well.
Mark Ralph,
joint two of them, wasn't it?
So it was really different. I think Paul Schrader, like, we'd not been in that situation where we had like a big studio that had been, like, it's a church in Lincoln which has been used for lots of big records before, and it was a really interesting process. And I think he kind of did get a lot of energy and rawness into that record. I think it would, although the demos that we did with him were very, very good, but I think it was good also to do the second album with a different producer to kind of get a different side of the sound. Have you heard the second album?
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, presumably you can tell that it's quite different to the first as well. It's a lot more polished. I'd say with a lot more kind of layers on it and things like that. So it's kind of, it was really good working with Paul, but it was also good working with Dave and Mark as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Going on to back to the songs. Got Dave Devant and his spirit wife.
Devant and his spirit wife.
It's all right. Yeah. Okay.
So they are from Brighton.
From Brighton, okay.
They had, much like ourselves, a very, very, very underrated second album called Shiny on the Inside. They were another band that I saw live and was blown away by because they had so much stuff going on. They would do magic tricks on stage. David Devant, his spirit wife, the concept was that the singer was a vessel for the dead magician called David Devant, and they would have spectral roadies that would do magic tricks. And so it was like this. They were like not a big band; they were a tiny band, but they had so much going on stage. It was completely mind blowing. I mean, I've always been sort of quite keen on sort of a flamboyant, arty, conceptual bands, and I think they were really, in terms of sort of doing the Britpop thing, they were far more interesting than a lot of the Britpop stuff. They kind of had elements of glam and elements of cabaret at the same time, and all this other stuff going on. And then the second album was really good, but it was stripped down, and it really showed how good the songs were and how good a songwriter Mikey was, who's the singer. And then in 2002, So they kind of came out in, I think they did their first single was 97, would you say, Ginger? Was that like the big, yeah. So they did 2 singles before, but their first big single was Ginger. And then like by 2001, 2002, they'd done their second album, but they hadn't got the same sort of level of attention. And I actually got in touch with them and asked if I could put them on in Brighton. So I actually promoted a gig of theirs in Brighton. You came to it. It was very sweet of you. And they did that, and it was really cool. And this is the song, like one of the really good song from their second album, which sounds great. There you go.
Okay, well, let's play it then. Here's David Devont and his Spirit Wife with 21. And then we'll play one more song before we get stuck into the questions. I think you mentioned them before, Eels. Great song of the time. But why this particular song?
Because it was the first American band that I thought were acceptable. And I like how...
What, in history or what?
Well, at that point, it was, like, I liked... Was there the third single or something off the second album? I can't remember what it's called. But like, I didn't like the first album because it was like, I mean, it was overplayed. Like Nova Came for the Soul and stuff. It was like Virgin Radio kind of material. Although I'd actually, in retrospect, I don't think they're bad songs, but I think they were overplayed. Second album, very, very miserable, which I didn't dislike, but I'd kind of sort of written them off. And then they did a track called Last Stop This Town, which was the last single off the second album, which I really liked, but it was before the artist, so I wasn't allowed to choose that. And on the video, they had faces which were, they kind of changed their faces for root vegetables, which I really appreciated. But then they did an album called Daisies of the Galaxy, which was in the year 2000, which was amazing. It was a really, really good track. Really good album. I mean, loads of really good songs. And they kind of completely changed their live sound, where they brought in a load of strings and horns and all sorts of things. So I love how innovative they are. I also love how how sort of DIY they are. We're kind of, the songs are very, very simple, but they do them really well. This song that we're going to play was a single, but it was actually on that album as a secret track. So it was that obscure. So I appreciated that as well. And the song, I was kind of saying, it was another one like the LCD Sound System, where I thought I'd like us to do a track that sounds a bit like Eels. And what we ended up doing was a song called Doesn't Matter to Me, which is a B-side. The demo, actually, the bass and drums do sound a bit like the Eels. Jimmy does something completely different, which doesn't sound like the Eels, but it's still good. Dom doesn't sound like the Eels, but it's still good. I have made it, because I was thinking about this last night. I was like, actually, I'm going to talk about this demo that was never actually properly available. But on the Bandcamp, which is the others, what's the Bandcamp? The others UK.bandcamp, I think. The others UK.bandcamp. Yeah. I've just made it. We kind of did, when we did the third album, we kind of did like a monthly release of rarities. And the demo of It Doesn't Matter to Me was on there. Really, really good track. And the thinking behind that, from my perspective, was, let's do a track that sounds like the Eels. But Dom and Jimmy and Martin had never heard the Eels, so it didn't end up sounding like the Eels, but it has that vibe. So, yeah, it's a really good track, though. Enjoy.
Yeah, let's play it as Eels with Mr. Easy Beautiful Blues. Which album is Never Came for the Soul on?
It's the first band album. Was it just called Eels? Like, he did 2 solo albums, and then he did an album called Eels or something, and that had all like the big hits on.
So you were into that then, though?
No, I was like, I don't listen to American music at that point. I was like, I didn't hate it, but my inner uh, issues stopped me appreciating it. But I did kind of like I kind of broke a little bit for Last Stop This Town, which is the second album, and then the third album was like, it's a really good album, and I'm going to grow up and stop with all of this and just enjoy it. So yeah, Daisies of the Galaxy is I still think out of those three albums, Daisies of the Galaxy is the best album. It's really like there's not a bad track on that.
Okay, who would you say is the best American band of all time then?
The best American band of all time.
Oh,
Sorry.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite American band?
I still don't love American bands.
That's why it's an interesting question. Yeah.
Best American band.
Well, who's your favorite American band?
Oh, that wasn't in the preordained questions, Harry.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to say that you hated American bands.
My favorite, what I'm going to not answer your question. I'm going to say that the most recent American artist which made me think was Hamel on Trial, which isn't a band, it's a solo artist. It's a very, very punky, bald guy with the loudest acoustic guitar you've ever heard. And half the set is like jokes and stories, and the other half is angry acoustic, very, very loud acoustic music. So, I mean, the greatest. I don't even. I'm not at that point where I feel that there is a band from America that constitutes the greatest band of all time. I can probably maybe I'll email you, Harry, when I've had a few days to muse on it. All right, I wouldn't want to give you a misleading answer.
No, fair play, respect that. All right, well, let's crack into the questions then. Got a few via the pod's Instagram first of all. Got one from GA1041. Says, did you think there was longevity in the band when you started it? I thought it's a bit of a difficult question, isn't it? But
it's a good one, though.
Where was this question?
On my Instagram, yeah, the pod's Instagram. Okay.
So did we think there was longevity? We didn't think about longevity. We thought there was potential, and we thought it was absurd and ridiculous and fun and exciting, and we carried on, and it continued to be that. So like probably looking from it from outside, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I never really look or listen to a band and stroke my chin and go, is there longevity in this band? I mean, I think the fact that there's such a bunch of disparate influences in the band means that we actually are doing something that's genuinely interesting. So I think there's a level of longevity in that in itself, because that sort of justifies it. I think for me, whether or not it had longevity was never particularly in my mind. However, I think, like, certainly when we were listening to the songs from the first album, for like last year, and the songs from the second album for this year, I think that they're kind of like, I really do think that they have stood the test of time. I think it's quite good when, I don't think they don't sound like noughties songs. Like, if you listen to them, you wouldn't go, oh yeah, that's from the noughties. You wouldn't know where it came from. It could have been from like the late 70s. It could have been from the early 80s. It could have been somewhere in the 90s. You know, there's not a thing, like, I don't think any of our stuff sounds dated. I think I think probably the remix, who's that guy, Paul Epworth, who did, the guy who did the remix of This Is For The Poor sounds dated. That sounds dated. I don't think any of the original sounds sound dated. I think they sound like they could have been done at any point, like since from the mid-70s onwards, which I think is actually your strength. Would you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. And I didn't particularly think that it would have longevity. I don't think it was something we thought about.
No.
Although, however, I tend to be someone who leans into that. I'm not one of these people that thinks necessarily a band that just forms for a few months and goes is necessarily the only way to do it. Okay,
No.
I think there's something in that for sure.
Yeah, I think that's exciting.
Like the Pistols or something. I do, but I think I've sort of leaned into it, and I think we all have a bit, haven't we? And just said, well, let's just keep going, and it's kind of ever changing as well. So
I think if we were still doing stuff that sounded like the first album, then you kind of go,
what's the point?
Same point. But I think actually the first album is a really good point, or with a collection of songs that aren't really anchored any particular time. I think the second album is the. I think it's really important for each album to sound different from the last, and I think if you're thinking about whether something has longevity or not, you should probably go to
insurance or banking.
Yeah, insurance or banking, or I was going to say the Institute of Modern Music to learn how to write pop songs. I think it's not real. I think if you're thinking about that, it's far too it's what's the word? Contrived. Far too contrived. And I think actually we were never we were never contrived at all, were we? No. We were. I think if we had all been the same, then it could easily have been contrived. But the fact that we were all so radically different meant it could never have been contrived. You would never invent the others. Like,
well,
no one would do that.
Well, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah,
so I think we're saying the answer is probably no. But it's a really good question. It is a good question.
Yeah. Then in terms of the second album, then you say it's underrated. Yeah. Why do you think that happened? Why do you think it wasn't rated as it should have been at the time?
I think we had a lot of hype with the first album, which, like, I appreciate the mischievousness of that. But I think part of what goes along with that is that there appears to be a lack of substance when there was never a lack of substance. So there was always a substance that backed up what we were doing. I think that.
Well, there was an honesty.
There was absolutely.
Especially from Dominic's lyrics, I think.
Yeah. And I think that with the second album, there certainly wasn't the visibility. I think it would have been, I mean, we can kind of, like, someone has asked about what would we do differently. And, like, I think in a way it would have been cool to have done a mini album and then an album that used tracks from the first and second album together. Because I think, like, the second album has such good songs on it. And the first album does have good songs on it, but they're of a kind, whereas the second album kind of really showed a bit more broadness. So it would have been cool to, like, have a combination of those two things, is what I think. It was underrated as well, probably because, like, there had been quite a lot of hype, and probably people were a bit fed up of us at that point. So it was probably not a good time to do a second album.
Yeah, I might have asked you before, Jimmy, but how would you assess your relationship with the likes of NME? Obviously on the front cover at one point, so it must have been...
Yeah, NME were brilliant to us. So, no complaints at all. I mean, they got right behind us. They seemed to love us, and they praised us and gave us so much exposure that had they not done that, I don't believe we would have got as far as we did. So I can only say positive things about them, and time moves on, music changes, people's tastes change, so no complaints really. They gave us a real sort of step up, a real shot in the arm really. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, do you concur with that, Johnny?
Yeah, I think it was very, very useful to have that exposure. It would have been also useful if that continued for the second album. Is all I can say. I mean, it was like it was underrated because not as many people heard it. I think if more people heard it, then it would have been like it would have sold, like it would have done more copies than the first because it's a better pop album in a way.
Yeah.
As you would all have heard earlier with the track "Always Be Mine" by the others.
I got one from Paul Big Liz who says memories of playing with Libertines, Baby Shambles.
Paul from where?
Paul Big Liz is his username.
Okay.
Great memories. No, brilliant memories. And I love those times. And we were playing several times a week sometimes, and we'd be turning up at the Rhythm Factory, wasn't it? And we'd be playing with the Libertines and Paddingtons, loads of great bands, the Cribs, all these bands that were sort of at the forefront of this movement. And no, it's bloody brilliant. And the Libertines gave us a hand as well. To be fair, they put us on loads of times. Libertines and Baby Shambles, just a great time. Just some amazing memories. It was, I don't know what it was like because I wasn't there, but I imagine there were similarities of the sort of early punk scene. Just loads of bands just forming every week, and this kind of amazing energy that was going on, and it just fabulous times. Really good, brilliant times, Johnny.
I remember lots of late nights trying to get the last train back to Brighton. I think the Rhythm Factory's gigs were good because of the plethora of other bands that were playing, to be honest. I mean, personally, the Libertines' music's not really struck a chord with me. But I think there were bands doing interesting things at that time. And when we did like the Rhythm Factory shows, there was definitely some bands that I would voluntarily watch rather than avoiding.
But a couple of memories, if I can interject again there. So the Libertines gave us a gig at a support slot to them at Brixton Academy, which was amazing. It was a dream of mine come true to play Brixton Academy. So from that, I can remember playing supporting a really early Baby Shambles gig, and I can't remember where it was. It was in London, and I think into the first song, Pete broke a guitar string and just went, just stormed off stage in the first song. But that's what it's all about. Yeah, really. Those kind of memories. And so just two sort of memories there, which were about Pete and the Libertines, and I'm sure Dom's got a load more, but there was a real energy around at that time, and sort of almost anything could happen. It was really exciting and so different. The kind of sterilized sort of music scene that to some degree is around at the moment. Although there's a lot of exciting stuff happening on the fringes, to be fair now, and that's how it should be with the young people,
Yeah. Bon Chic Flex on Instagram. What part did the fans play in the rise of the others?
Oh, massive part. They were as important as the band, I'd say. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I was thinking about this, and obviously like a couple of because we've not been allowed to listen to the songs we've played, I'm like losing track a little bit.
Don't tell the audience.
I'm sorry. I'm just being honest.
Transparency, fair enough.
So I think the bands that I sort of grew up enjoying were bands that had a sense of spectacle with them, and I think with the others, the sense of spectacle came from the enthusiasm of the audience. There you go. So while we didn't do magic tricks on stage, they did magic tricks in the audience.
Yeah. They were so supportive. People used to travel around from town to town to see us,
and it was cool to it was
we
nice.
We became friends, didn't we?
It was. It's nice to have like proper conversations with people and like actually talk to people and learn about people. So I would kind of like, I'm very, very pro that. So we definitely did meet a lot of people that were nice people, and that was great.
Yeah.
It played a massive part.
And they were also really cool as well. You know, as well, they were cool. They were certainly cooler than I was. So yeah.
I wouldn't say they were cooler than I was, but you can say what you like.
They were brilliant. Thank you, each and every one of them.
Yeah, it's appreciated.
Yeah, massively.
And were you into it? Were you into the guerrilla gigs as much as Dom, or was that kind of more his thing, or did you enjoy them as much as he did?
I love the chaoticness and the excitement of it. I mean, to be honest, it was like I'm sure you're going to ask a question at some point regarding our favourite gigs of the time. And certainly one of my favourite gigs of the time would have been the gig on the Tube, just because it was so anarchic and it felt like doing something genuinely like innovative, because no one had done that before. And I think actually kind of doing that and doing it in a non-destructive way. So I kind of want to say was that actually people just having a really cool time on a tube train, not smashing up the tube train, but like just having a really cool time and using that space. So yeah, I mean, I would say like the tube gig that we did is one of my favorite gigs that we ever did, and it was really exciting. I mean, I think certainly with live music, excitement is key, isn't it? Otherwise, why?
Definitely.
You might as well just listen to it at home.
Yeah, and they were really inclusive as well. It was sort of like our gigs, but to a factor of 100 or something. You know, the audience was even more important. No one could hear what we were doing, but that wasn't the point, really. It was just a fun, exciting gathering, but I think it was very much of its time. Like, I think it would be pretty sad if we were to try and do something similar now. So, but back then, I think we did some really good ones, and yeah, it was exciting and inclusive.
Yeah, probably more difficult to get away with these days with social media, I guess. Yeah. Going from Dustin's bar mitzvah.
Love Dustin's. Hey, Davey and everyone.
Jimmy, did you think after Britpop your chance of being a rock star had maybe passed you by?
I certainly did. Absolutely. Actually, that's a really good question. I mean,
Dustin's are great, aren't they?
Yeah, I love. Yeah, and actually, one of the songs that we're not playing today, but is one of my favourites, is "To the Ramones" by Dustin's, which I've got on 7-inch. I bought it at the time, and I bloody love that song. And we toured with them in 2006, I think, but we'll probably come back to that later on. But sorry, to answer your question, I did. I'd kind of sort of hung up my boots, as it were, and I thought, well, I'll still do music. Sort of post Britpop, I was coming sort of into my late 20s at that point, and I thought, well, I still love it, so I'll still play, but you know, my chances are gone really. And suddenly the others come along. So yeah, I was sort of grateful to get that chance late on in my career, really. I did think it had gone. Yeah, definitely.
I don't have any Dustin's records, but I'm sure Jimmy will let me listen to his.
But yeah. So the answer to that question is yes, guys. I did indeed. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go on to the questions from your accounts. Got one from Elisa Italian 85.
No, 853. That was my typing error. Sorry.
Sorry, right. Thought it was a username. Sorry. Okay, we could say that your first album talks about the poor, the disenfranchised, the outcasts, etc. What made it special for me was that it was appreciated by the poorer kids who came to see you and felt a direct connection with your song themes. But also, for example, NME reported that one of the most privileged people on the planet, Prince William, was a fan of the song William. Was there any truth? Did you ever find out if there's any truth in that?
Blatant narcissism.
I mean, the thing is, when I was reminded of that, I thought, really? But actually, thinking about it, I think that was reported by the enemy. How true it was, I don't know, but I think it was reported at the time. I suppose he was probably about 20 then, and he was at uni, so he possibly heard it. Maybe his mates played it to him, so it is possible.
He was probably blagging to his friends at Oxford and Cambridge
That it was
that
about
the song
him.
was about him.
But fair play. And I'd be bloody
read
delighted.
Masters when I was 7 years old.
I'd be delighted if he did like it. But I mean, Elisa was asking about whether the songs cross boundaries or something.
Sorry, I'm just going to finish that off then, yeah.
Right.
How does it feel that your words and music are so widely relatable and that they can cross social boundaries?
For me, that's massive. If that's true, then is a massive plus for me. I think Dominic did write. He writes brilliantly about the disenfranchised and the outsiders and the poor. But for me, music should be it's open to anyone and their interpretations of it. And I would never put up barriers to anyone to say you shouldn't be listening or appreciating our music. So for me, it's a massive plus point.
Yeah, I would say that people don't really have control over how wealthy the family they're born into is, and I would judge anyone just by how they are to me and how they behave in their life. And if they have got a level of wealth, then that gives them an enormous potential to do good. And if they actually choose to do good with that wealth, then that's not a bad thing. And I certainly wouldn't exclude anyone. I would say that, when I listen to a song, I don't listen to a song and go, well, what was the intention behind the song? I just listen to a song and take what it means to me. I think that's like a personal relationship to any song is like actually the one that matters rather than the intention behind the song. That's my personal view.
But I mean, obviously, you're just talking to Johnny and myself tonight, and Dom will have his own opinion on that as well. So that's only how we feel about that. But
yeah. Do you think Dom would welcome Prince William at a gorilla gig?
I'm sure he would.
The
palace,
Buckingham Palace,
Some of the princes still live there.
Yeah.
Were you involved with that photo shoot at Buckingham Palace? Weren't you? London's burning thing.
Yeah, we were, weren't we? Do you remember that, Dad? That was quite fun, actually. Yeah, there was that massive photo taken outside Buckingham Palace. We were there. We're in there somewhere. That was quite
I enjoyed going to St James's Park afterwards and seeing the pelicans.
Yeah,
the photo shoot itself was kind of faded a bit, but I remember the pelicans at St James's Park.
Yeah, is that a bit of a forced thing by NME that attempted to force a scene together? I don't know. Because obviously you had a scene with the likes of Pete Doherty and that, but maybe I think Eddie Argos said he felt like
the NME needed to do what they needed to do to sell copies of their newspaper. We operated under our own terms, I think. I wouldn't say that I think there's just because people say something about you doesn't make it true. I think there's a lot of publicity that is just publicity for attention, which is fine, but I wouldn't take too much notice of a lot of it.
No,
they only had to sell papers at the end of the day, so they did what they thought they needed to do. But I don't think that we really had any similarity with the other bands that were on that photo shoot, and there were only probably 2 bands that I thought were, maybe 3, that I thought were worthy of any attention whatsoever.
No, I think Eddie Argos had the same type of opinion, yeah. He thought it was all a bit strange. Right, next question. Matt Stockman for Johnny. Do you prefer playing bass or guitar when writing and also when playing live?
I've written things for Matt So I like writing on guitar because it's a little bit more flexible. I do like playing bass. It's quite nice to play bass again for last year's gig and this year's gig. But I think there's a bit more flexibility in writing with guitar. The only reason I kind of swapped to guitar was because we'd done 2 albums that were sort of primarily bass led, like from riffs that kind of originated from bass line, whereas the third album is primarily originated from guitar lines, but it was quite a different sounding album. And I think there's a bit more scope to write sort of different sounding things on guitar. But I do think it would be quite cool to do some tracks with 2 basses. And Steve, who's on bass now, says I should get a 6-string bass, which I do quite like, but then I kind of think, well, I've got a 6-string guitar, so I don't really need a 6-string bass. But I think if someone were to give me a 6-string bass, I would happily play some songs on a 6-string bass. I just don't want to pay for a 6-string bass ultimately, but I do like the sound of bass, and it's been quite nice doing that kind of thing, like tying in to the drum, because you kind of go to a different sort of zone a little bit. And I think like when we certainly like the gigs around the first album, it was quite cool because it was like I could be very, very, very drunk and play very well, just because you're kind of so used to playing and you tie in with the rhythm. That's quite nice. But I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of scope. We did do one track on the third album, which originally had 2 basses called I'll Keep You Safe, which is good. But it'd be quite cool to maybe on the 7th explore some songs with 2 basses. That'd be quite interesting. I do like playing bass. I like the sound of bass, and I like the connection to the rhythm.
Yeah, yeah. Then he also goes on to say what are the thoughts behind adding people to the band. Kind of touched on it earlier, I guess, but yeah, why was that decision made?
What if I may say? I always say about Dom, he's a bit like Marquis Smith, in some ways, where he gets these new people into the band, but unlike Marquis Smith, he forgets to sack people. So the band just keeps growing, growing and growing. But no, joking aside, I think we felt it added a bit more depth so that we could then, when Eddie first joined, we could go out live as a 5-piece with 2 guitars, right? And that gave us a bit more depth live as well.
When we were leading up to the third album, where there was no bass. Which, I was thinking the other day, it would be really cool if there was actually recordings of those somewhere. But it was like there were 2 guitars and no bass. But Eddie put a bass line under most of the tracks on the third album, and I think having new people, apart from like making the dynamic a bit more like. It makes the dynamic a bit more laid back.
Yeah, more. Yeah, definitely
more
quite palatable and friendly.
And it kind of takes the pressure off in a way, because instead of having like just 2 people coming in with music, you've got quite a range of things. So it's quite nice. I mean, I quite like putting like melodies and stuff on top of other people's things, whereas rather than just like having to originate things all the time, it's quite nice to kind of have that other aspect.
Yeah. And it's given us the opportunity to have keyboards and add some different flavors, really, whether it's different people playing different instruments on different songs, as it were, or and just bringing in more influences as well. So it's happened really organically, but I think it's been a really, really plus point actually for us.
Then one from Marta. With your new album, what are the main things you want the listeners to get from it, and what do you want to stay with them?
Hi, Marta.
Broadness of scope. Really, really different from the fifth album. Really poppy, actually, compared to what we've done recently. It's like as poppy as the first and second, I reckon. There's like pop songs on it. Really different sounding stuff, like glammy stuff. Brass. What else would you
Yeah.
say? The new album, I would kind of say listen to it and see what you think. Oh, it doesn't, like every single album, I kind of feel like trying to do something that doesn't sound like the others. I mean, it always sounds like the others, which isn't always a bad thing. But I think setting yourself the goal to not sound like the others kind of opens a few doors in terms of what you can do and what you can get away with. So I'd kind of say it's quite broad. It's quite different from what we've done. There's a lot more keyboards on what we've done before, and a lot more pop songs than we've done for a little while.
I'd like people to sort of, if they would maybe recognise that we're quite a broad church, as it were, and that we can write a lot of different sounding songs. And I'd love them to take away some memories of some of the lyrics and the sentiments behind the songs, and just some of the melodies that are in there. Really, I hope there's some catchiness and some longevity in some of those new songs.
And then she also says, if success happened again tomorrow, what would you do differently or not at all?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
We talked about this before. I kind of feel like the way things happened in the only way things could happen, given the combination of like environment and individuals. So I wouldn't like say, oh, we would do everything. I think the only thing really that I would do different properly would be to do a bit more like shows in Europe and shows in America, if we could do those, because I think that we were very, very UK centric. So we did a lot of UK tours, and we did a couple of we did a few strings of dates in Germany, not very many. We did a lot of stuff in Italy, which was amazing. And I think that in 2005 we did a lot of the summer festivals in Europe, which was really, really good. And it would be good to it felt like we didn't really follow up on that. So like all the people that saw us on those summer festivals in 2005 couldn't then really see us again unless they bought a plane ticket to the UK. So it would have been really good to actually have gone back and done like European tours is my view.
Yeah.
What have you
got? I'd go along with that. I think that's right. I'd probably take a slightly different approach in the studio sometimes, be a bit more focused, and probably I'd probably just lean into it all a bit more and be a bit more laid back about it and try and enjoy it a bit more, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there's some great footage of, is it Summer Sonic in Japan when you played there?
Yeah.
It says, must be some good memories of that.
But we only played those two big gigs, didn't we, in Japan?
Yeah.
But there was an audience there, so it would have been cool to have played like a tour in Japan.
Yeah, it would be nice to. Yeah, exactly. It would have been nice to go on some tours of some of these other places that we touched on for festivals. You know.
What were you listening to in the noughties, Harry?
Well, I mean, I'm from Hull, so
Paddington.
Exactly, yeah. So that's
where
I was going.
Paddingtons. I thought they were. I'm sure you're probably going to ask, but I did rate Paddingtons. I thought they were really good. I thought they were very like young, not in a bad way, but it was like they looked good. They were young. They had like a lot of youthful energy. They were lovely people, and I thought they were very exciting live. I thought they were, and I suspect that they were probably a bit. I mean, no offense to Hull, but they were probably kind of a bit out there in terms of like alternative, kind of like embracing like an alternative sort of sound. Would you say?
Yeah, probably. There was a bit of a scene in Hull, but yeah, like around 2004.
But they were around when did they form? I don't actually know when they
Well,
formed.
yeah, around that time, like early 2000s, I guess. But I mean, yeah, they kind of put themselves out there. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'd
But
say,
yeah.
like, in terms of like newer bands from around that time, I'd really rate Paddingtons. I enjoyed them. Like,
No,
it was
yeah.
nice to play gigs with them, and I would watch them every time we played gigs.
Yeah, I mean, the album still stands up now, like, and the second one, to be fair, it's just a bit of a different vibe on the second one. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, in terms of Alan McGee, what was it like having him on board? How?
It was kind of amazing because so many bands that I liked had. I mean, obviously, like, he signed the Jesus and Mary Chain, who were like one of my favorite bands from the 80s. I like Primal Scream a lot, and obviously, like, he'd been so kind of he started like quite like Teenage Fan Club as well. There's like so many bands on Creation that I really respected, and that's the thing. It's like when I was kind of getting into music, and as I said, like 1994, 95, 96, Creation was such a source of like genuinely good new bands. So to have him kind of be interested in us was amazing. It was like wow, and then having like the thing I didn't say, obviously, like we spoke about Eight's Beeline earlier, but before us and before them, our management company had these Animal Men, who I know Art Brute like as well, and probably
Right.
and Eight's Beeline like as well. So it's like we all like these Animal Men a lot, and they were managed by the same people. It was like as soon as like they were interested, I was like, wow. So we had like Alan McGee, who did all that creation stuff, and then Matt Willis from CC, who'd done like these Animal Men and all of that cool stuff from New Wave, which was much actually more interesting than a lot of the Britpop that came after it. Lots of energy, lots of kind of sort of glamour and performance. I really, really liked these Animal Men. I thought they were good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Don might have told me, but what was the first kind of interaction with Alan McGee? Was it after a gig or something?
What was it? Well, I think didn't Alan phone Dom up? Because I think Dom. I remember Dom playing us a voice message from Alan McGee because he'd heard the demo that we did of This Is for the Poor and really liked it. And then he played when we were doing Brighton Rocks at the Concord.
That's right.
And he played us that message, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. But my actual first interaction with Alan McGee was probably at Death Disco. I don't actually remember I mean, it was very, very cool that he was interested in us.
Somebody suggested that we sent Alan a demo. Dom will remember. I can't quite remember who it was. Was it Emily?
Emily.
Yeah.
Emily.
Yeah. she suggested that we sent Alan a demo, which we did. Yes, I think it was. And yeah, I think we're probably going to allude to that later on, actually. But yeah, it was a great move anyway.
Yeah, just with you saying Death Disco, just remember the story you told me, Jimmy, about Johnny and maybe Liam Gallagher.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. You told me this, Johnny.
Yes.
That you said we played Death Disco once, and Liam was there, and you.
I didn't know. Or maybe I haven't seen your entire episode before. Okay, well,
I forgive you.
I mean, it's just like I know you do this thing with the Gallagher brothers thing. I've never met Noel. I met Liam, but I didn't realise it was Liam. I thought it was someone pretending to be Liam. Well, not pretending, but I thought it was like someone. Yeah, it was kind of like what's with this guy? He's acting like Liam Gallagher, but it was Liam Gallagher. But I was like, we had done Death Disco, and Alan had asked Liam to come down, and Liam did come down, and then like it was after the gig. Yeah, it was definitely after the gig. And I was just like in the club, and he's like shorter than you'd expect. I kind of expected Liam to be very, very tall. He's not as tall as I expected. He was very, very nice and polite, and he was kind of like talking to me, and it was like, and I was like it was like I'm pro cartoon bands, all right, but it was like it was kind of a bit cartoony. Whereas, like, if someone was pretending to be Liam Gallagher, it would be like that. But it actually was Liam Gallagher. And so he was talking to me, and I was talking to him, and I was like, who's this? And then I was like, oh, I didn't think you'd be into this sort of thing. And he goes, oh, no, I respect what you're doing. I like the sound. I respect what you're doing. And you keep doing it. Was like really positive and everything. And then I was like, kind of like, it was through the conversation that I was like, I think it actually is Liam. But then it was like, at what point do you kind of what point do you reveal that you've gone from not knowing who someone is to realizing he's probably the most famous rock star alive, who's talking to you in the club? Yeah, he was very nice, and very supportive, and I haven't got anything bad to say. I mean, you're kind of like, yeah. I wasn't like, I like some Oasis tracks. I'm not like a massive fan of Oasis.
I really like the first album a lot.
I like the fact that they did shake things up a little bit. Yeah, that's kind of it. I was just like, yeah, I thought it was someone acting like Liam Gallagher, but it actually was Liam Gallagher. He did like the whole thing like this, and the stepping, like the stepping on one stage. Like, why are you? Like, because I don't, like, when I'm talking to someone or like looking at someone, like, why are you behaving like that? It's like, oh, it's because you're Liam Gallagher, and that's how Liam Gallagher behaves. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Sounds like one of the more positive interactions with Naughtiest bands he has. Anyway, I think there was you weren't a major fan of all of them, was he?
No.
Back to the questions then. This one's all about food, apparently, from Darren, John, and Dominic. Where did you have the best curry on tour?
I'll take that one. Whilst I can't remember the name of the restaurant, no surprise it was in Birmingham. And I think Darren sent this question in. And I wonder if, Darren, were you with us that night? Somebody took us to an amazing Indian restaurant in Birmingham. So that is my short, succinct answer to that. Where else could it have been, really?
Fair point. Some decent ones in Manchester.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
What's your go-to?
Well, we never tried a curry in Manchester, did we?
I can't remember. My culinary memory isn't that long. I mean,
what's your go-to curry order out of interest?
Oh, chicken Ceylon probably for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Johnny.
Like whatever is on the menu I've not heard of, or what's there. I think
some of the house special. Sometimes it's just nice to go for a house special. Isn't it? What about you, Harry?
Yes, I was similar vibe really, but I usually fall with. I usually go for Madras in the end.
Oh.
If I'm in doubt, just go for Madras. But
God, that's quite strong.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, you can take it. Take it. I've struggled with a Madras before.
Well, I can take it at the time. Put it that way. What was your favourite breakfast on tour?
Okay, so like I spent like my thanks to Dominic and John Cajon. They both ruined my Saturday morning because instead of doing what I wanted to do, I wrote notes to try and answer this question. So I found out that all my most unusual and interesting food was entirely fish related. There was one. So I've got three things. We have time for three food related stories.
Is this the breakfast related or just general?
Well, I mean, some of it's breakfast related, but some of it is. I can cut out some answers. Like one is breakfast related, and one of the strangers.
Everyone's entitled to 3 courses.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Okay, so let's start with the breakfast. Okay, I've got 2 breakfast things. One was in Japan, and so I like sushi. Do you like sushi, Harry?
I do, yeah.
Do you like sushi?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had ambient or slightly warm sushi?
Probably not. I don't know. Yeah.
No.
I hope not.
So in Japan, very, very, very hot. So we've only been to Japan like once, and we did the 2 shows, and that was it. The first time I think I'd ever had green tea. So it's just it sounds kind of like, oh, whatever, wherever is he on? But this is like 20 years ago. So like 20 years ago, how many people in this country had Japanese green tea? Probably not as many as now, right? So for me, it was kind of unusual. So on the flight over there, they gave us green tea, which was fine, but it was cold, which was also fine, but it took a bit of getting used to. Now, for breakfast in the hotel in Japan, we had cold green tea and ambient to warm sushi, which was like, for breakfast, that was kind of a lot to take on. And so that was not that I disliked it. I did like it, but it was more difficult to embrace, shall we say. My second fish-related story is in, I think, probably Ancona in Italy, where we always had a lovely time in Italy when we played. We played Italy more than any other European country. We always had a lovely time. Promoter was Eric, who always was tremendous, and I feel like I would tour Italy for the rest of my life quite happily. But there was one incident where we were kind of like, so I don't speak Italian. Well, I try to pick things up, but I'm English and they don't teach Italian in school here. So we're like, kind of, it's a feeling that way when we go into there was, so when you go, Harry, I'm sure in Hull or Manchester, there's a European-style bistro somewhere that you might have visited at some point. Would I be right in thinking that? Or would you stay clear of all those kind of establishments?
European-style bistro?
Yeah. They reached the north, yeah.
It doesn't ring a bell, to be honest. What was that involved?
So, have you heard of like a grilled fresh sardines with a bit of salt and lemon or something like that?
Right, okay. You mean like tapas kind of
thing? Pardon?
We're talking like tapas or something?
Not as small as tapas, but maybe like a sort of a thing where you might have a starter, you might order sardines.
It's like the overweight sardine.
Well, you kind of get a couple of sardines that have been grilled, slightly charred, with lemon and salt.
Okay.
Yeah? Can you imagine such a thing?
Yeah, mate, I reckon.
Okay. So we were in Italy, and I saw that, and I remember when I was like kind of doing my notes, I remember that Dom disapproved of my choice because it was like, it's sardines, isn't it? You give them to your cat, is what I got. I was like, well, I'm going to do that because I actually really like grilled sardines. So, like, I thought that's what I was on. Like, we have got like a promoter that speaks Italian, and I was like, okay, well, is this sort of sardines? Are they grilled? And I was like, yes. So we ordered that, and I got like a massive plate, and they were raw. They were raw sardines, all very, 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 very lightly marinated, but they seemed raw to me. And I was kind of expecting like grilled sardines, but they'd like a far too big a portion of sardines that weren't cooked. And I was like, well, like out of kind of like respect for the culture and for the fish, I was like eating them. It's like, but like you know, when you kind of order something, you're like looking forward to a thing, and then if something else, like for example, if the fish isn't even cooked, can you imagine that? You've ordered fish that it's not cooked. Can you imagine that?
Starting to, mate.
Yeah. So ultimately, I was like that, and it was like, if it had just been like a few, it would have been okay, but it was really big, and I wasn't prepared for it. But anyway, I did my best. So that was quite weird, and it was just, I think, it was a bit of a mental struggle. I do like sardines and I do like raw fish, but not necessarily at the same time.
Can I ask, was the temperature of your fish ever to your liking?
It has been in the past. But anyway, so there was that, and then one of my most unusual / interesting breakfast was in Glasgow. We talked about this, and it was the Rennie Mackintosh Gallery.
Yeah, kind of a museum. The restaurant within that.
I don't know, because we would have been staying at like a Premier Inn or a Travel.
We got taken there by people. Yeah.
Okay, so somehow, after playing the concert in Glasgow, we ended up at a cafe in the Rennie Mackintosh Museum and art gallery, and they did breakfast. We had a breakfast, and it was the first time. Have you had clouty dumpling? Do you know clouty dumpling? Clouty dumpling? Do you know?
I'm not sure, mate. No.
Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay, so 20 years ago, I also had never heard of it. All right. And I ordered the thing because I'd never heard of it, and it was like a cooked breakfast, and then the clouty dumpling was kind of like fruit cake. So it was like a fruit cake that you have with breakfast. And that was quite odd because I wasn't. I mean, it didn't say. Anyway, so that's my like 3 most unusual things. And I think actually, considering it's 20 years ago and you've not heard of clouty dumpling 20 years later, I think that's an authentic claim for unusual breakfast. I'm like in Scotland, I'm sure they eat it all the time, but it's like it's ultimately a kind of a fruitcake that you have with bacon and egg and like mushrooms and sausage. It's like, and I was like, I'm always like really into trying stuff, but I was like, oh, I'm happy to have it, and I'm like, I still take like I probably would have it separately, you know. It's like if it was on a different plate, I'd be really happy, but I think it didn't seem to fit as part of the whole. There you go. And that was my Saturday morning. I gave up for that. You're welcome.
I was listening to Joe from Idols talk about playing a gig in Italy recently. He said like the promoter took him out for a massive like 3-course meal before the gig, and then they had to go out an hour later and like sing a load of angry songs.
So we weren't very full when we played in Italy.
They look after you so well in Europe, and particularly Italy.
And then we did one.
It was probably Eric.
Probably. And there was one on, like in Florence on the mount, like at a cafe that was like on the mountain on the volcano, which they'd kind of turned. It like the tables had been upturned to create a stage, so it wasn't like it wasn't a normal venue, but we were in this place for Czechia or something like that. So for Czechia,
I can't remember to be honest. Sorry.
But it was that, which was obviously an amazing place to play a gig, and it was actually the only place in Italy that I've had a really bad hangover. I was quite good at avoiding hangovers during all of that time, but I didn't avoid one. Yeah, we did have to be.
We had to try.
And then Darren and Dom, what was your favourite ever others gig? What is your favourite others gig?
I have 2. My favourite others gigs are the smallest and the largest gigs that we played. One of my favourites was the gig on the Tube, and my other favourite was the gig in the Japanese baseball stadium to 40,000 people, because both were exciting and not tedious.
Yes. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, so many, seriously. And a lot of the smaller gigs are really exciting and fun, but I'd probably go with Brixton Academy, as that really was a dream come true. The baseball stadium in Japan, and probably like the first time playing Glastonbury and Reading as well. So I know that's 4, but that'd be them probably.
Yeah. Yes. Then Matt, John, and Darren, who were some of your favourite bands you've played with over the years?
My favourite bands I have played with over the years are Joyrides, 80s Matchbox, Neil's Children, Paddingtons, Rakes, Art Brute, Psychedelic Furs.
There's a list for you. I mean, agreed with those as well. And I'd add to those, Dustins, who we did a tour with in 2006. I think I mentioned earlier. The Cribs. Oh my God, the Cribs gave us our first tour, really, supporting them. So they held a massive place in my heart. And I love that band. And, Paddingtons as well. We did at least one tour with them as well. Libertines. Plus, we've probably forgotten between us, haven't we? Loads of other bands. Johnny hasn't forgotten any. I probably have. Apologies. So yeah, we could probably talk all night about all of those bands. But is there any of those that you want to sort of pick up on? Or
I don't know. I guess the bands that helped you out, I suppose.
And what?
The bands that kind of helped you out, but you've mentioned the Cribs, Libertines, and then, I mean, Dom talked about the fact that you helped other bands out, like the Paddingtons, so it kind of like then a mutual thing where some bands would help you out, then you'd help other bands that way you can, type thing.
I'd like to think that.
Yeah,
I hope so.
We did our first tour we did like a week or so with the Cribs when we were supporting the Cribs.
Yeah.
And then when we were a bit bigger, I think it was like April 2005, the Cribs did like a few dates where they supported us. I mean, they did the support of the Concord in Brighton.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
Manchester or
some other, I don't know. So we kind of did a switch around with that.
But also, if we did help any bands out by giving them support slots, then I'm really happy that we did, and that's what it's all about.
Our Joyrides were never signed. We played with them once in Putney at the Half Moon. It was the first gig that we'd done with them, but I'd never seen them before. But they were like, all of them would come to our gigs all the time, and it was so exciting for me because when I saw them, they kind of actually reminded me of all the bands that I liked when I was kind of like getting into music, like David Vaughn or whatever, because they had all that kind of sort of slightly sort of showy, flamboyant, and novelty aspects to them, which was quite exciting to see a band that liked us to do something like that.
Okay, cool. And then Serena, which other song or songs most represent you individually?
Oh, that's a lovely question. I think for me, it'd probably Always Be Mine, How I Nearly Lost You, Stan Bowles, and from a fairly new album, Nowhere to Go. I could talk about all of those songs, but just off the top of my head, those four songs, I think, for me. So yeah.
For me, I wouldn't say there was one song that although actually on the sixth album, there's probably a couple, because with the new members and with a kind of slightly different process where we have a bit more control over the songs that we originate, there's probably a couple of tracks on the new album that are probably more like deep representation of myself. But I would just say that my contribution to all the other songs represents me. But I think, as I said before, it's like the good thing about the others is that it's lots of different influences.
Yeah. I don't know if you're into football, but I think someone posted that they played Stan Bowles at QPR the other day. That's pretty cool. Like 20 years down the line, it must be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. I was well chuffed with that. Luke Basil posted that on some of our timelines the other day. So we knew that back in the day with the Stan Bowles tune that QPR had picked up on that, obviously, because he was their player, and they used to play it at their ground. So I was really happy to find out that they still do it occasionally, as recently as this month. So yeah, I mean, I'm big into football myself, so for me, that's a wonderful thing, you know. That's an amazing accolade. I love the fact that we're getting played at a football ground, you know.
Who do you support, Jimmy?
I'm Arsenal since I was a kid, since I was a young boy. Probably I've been into Arsenal as long as I've been into music. And we've had our ups and downs. Obviously, we're having an amazing season. This could be it. This could be it for the Gunners this season. But I also lived through the 80s when we weren't quite so good.
Well, fair play. What about you, Johnny? Are you bothered or not really?
I don't understand the rules of football, Harry.
Okay.
But I'm pleased when anyone plays any of our songs.
Good answer. Again, Serena, favourite moment or memory from playing in Italy?
Yeah, we talked about
that.
Yes,
we did talk about this. Do you know?
I remember when we did a really lovely outdoor concert in Ancona on a beautiful summer's day, and then the next day we all went. Eric took us to the beach, and some of us went swimming and sunbathed or read books, whatever. So I think that was one of my absolute favourite times in Italy. But to be honest, it's all been beautiful.
I liked that as well. I liked we did a tour when Dirty Pretty Things was supporting us, like 4 or 5 dates in Italy, and they were our support band, and that was one of the shows that we did on that was one of my favourite shows in Italy. Dom was amazing on that. He was on the floor and he was at the top of the lighting rigs. He was everywhere. He was amazing. That was one. I mean, I don't think we ever did an Italian gig that we didn't enjoy. Yeah. We enjoyed all of them, but I think in terms of standout, apart from the outdoor festival, which was, I think that was the first time we played in Italy, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. And then, I mean, there were so many good aspects about everything where we kind of like stayed in that weird sort of castle thing and done and the south, the deep south, something beginning with L, somewhere beginning with L in Italy.
Lecce.
Lecce. Is it Lecce? It doesn't sound like a real place. It sounds like condensed milk. But if there is such a place as Lecce.
Yeah, there's a football team, Lecce, isn't there?
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
And they're not condensed milk, they're definitely a football team.
That might be the nickname, I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, where we were staying, we were it was a massive castle type thing, and we were all in the same dormitory, and it was really odd and really good, and there was a river outside.
Yeah. And hi to the Italian 853, by the way, and thank you for all your support over the years.
I'd say again, I'd definitely be happy to play Italy forever and never play in the UK.
So Eric, if you would like to bring 7 of us over, and our partners and everything, and pay for everything, and we'll do a couple of gigs for you, then we're up for it.
But no raw sardines this time.
One from Susie. Design the ultimate gorilla gig if you're doing one now.
We did talk about this. Yeah.
Back to the tube, is it?
Or
break into something like the masked
Thinger or the voice. That's the only thing that could be done now.
Yeah. Alternatively, I'd like to do one at home on my own.
You'd never want anyone to.
Because I'm really lazy. Yeah.
See, John Lydon was on The Masked Singer, wasn't he? I've not watched it.
Yeah, second time round. I don't watch it. I don't really like it much, but I did see his performance. I thought it was very good, actually.
I need to watch it.
No, I don't really.
Blimey, got a series.
For doing it, though. I think that's like punk rock.
Got quite a serious one here from Gerard. What are the most pressing issues in Britain today regarding distribution and consumption?
That was heavy, wasn't it? And I think Gerard, if I'd like to invite Gerard live on the show today, Harry, if I may, I'd like to invite Gerard to meet me at before the gig on the 20th of March at the Grace, celebrating the release of the 20th anniversary of the second album in the Parts, to discuss this in more detail, because he seemed to have ideas about what the pressing issues were, according to his limited knowledge. But one of the things I did write a bunch of stuff about this. So one of the songs you're going to play, what's the next song you're going to play, Harry?
It will be the Cribs.
That's one.
What about after that?
Yeah, yes.
Don't give it all away, Johnny.
Okay.
People might switch off.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do you kind of cut and paste and edit these afterwards, or is it just like as it comes?
I'll cut the pisses out, but apart from that, yeah.
Weren't they the best bits?
Well,
right. Well, okay. You're going to play a track that is performed by Teddy Thompson later.
right, okay.
Which is one of my choices, which is a cover of, I mean, you're very, very welcome to switch around your playlist if you want to kind of make it like to shoehorn it in to the order in which things happened in real time. We're not kind of precious about that order. So there is a Teddy Thompson track coming up.
We can play that. What do you mean? You want to play that now, yeah?
Yes,
Next.
that would be amazing, because that would tie into my answer.
Yeah, let's do that then, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, fuck me. What are we doing it right now? Yeah.
So depressing.
What's going on now? I'm lost.
Right. So, have you played it yet? On the other show? Have you played it?
What, you want me to introduce Teddy Thompson now? Yeah.
Teddy Thompson.
Right, okay.
Leonard Cohen cover by Teddy Thompson called The Future.
Right, here it is.
Go on.
That'll do.
Okay.
Right.
Let me know when you've played it.
Yeah, let's crack on then, yeah.
That was amazing. Okay. So, Teddy Thompson, The Future. In answer to Gerard's question, I think one of the most pressing issues is the onset of AI. Okay. Now, the reason for this is because I fear that AI will produce lots of stuff, which it will, and the most worrying thing is that I think certainly a majority of people will accept that. So there won't be that connection between human innovation and music. There won't be an emotional connection if it's generated by AI. And there'll be like a period where people are kind of like toing and froing about whatever, but in 10, 15 years or so, it won't matter if it's generated by a person or if it's generated by a computer. So in terms of one of the most pressing issues for consumption and distribution, the onset of AI and the advances of AI is one of those, I think, because it will take away completely the human aspect to anything. And that's not just music, that's anything creative, that's any kind of art, to be honest. But the reason that I have chosen the Teddy Thompson track is because I only heard, like, although it was released in 2006, which I was thrilled to discover, which meant I could use it today, it was actually only prevalent to me last year. And that is because I have Spotify, but which I was anti for many years. I was really anti-Spotify. I thought it was a terrible thing. And then I kind of liked it, and I was like kind of doing a lot of driving, and I was like doing the like my weekly thing. Do you know my weekly, daily, like weekly playlist or something? Do you know that? Do you have Spotify, Harry?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your thoughts on Spotify?
Well, I'm looking to change actually, because apparently it's a better alternative. I can't remember the name of it right now. Let's have a look.
See, we're basically being the BBC at your podcast tonight with informative education, entertainment. What more could anyone want?
Yeah, apparently there's one that's much better for paying through to artists called Qbuzz, spelled Qbuz. Apparently it's a lot more ethical, apparently, in terms of the companies they deal with or whatever.
They'd have to have an obscure name, right?
I know, I can't even remember how I pronounce it.
Okay, anyway, so I kind of like embraced Spotify a little bit last year, and the cover of the Leonard Cohen track was on my Discover Weekly playlist, and most like of the time when I do that, like if I do get the chance to listen to it every week, it's kind of like it's a lot of stuff from the 1950s, 1940s, like weird sort of musical ragtime and all sorts of stuff like that. And then there was this track that came on. I was like, what the fuck is it? And I like immediately, as soon as I finished, I played it again. And then I found out that it was a cover of a Leonard Cohen song. I listened to the Leonard Cohen song and didn't like it. Didn't like it. Bands that I like, certainly like a band that I like Sisters of Mercy, I know have kind of mentioned Leonard Cohen as being an inspiration. I have probably tried to get into Leonard Cohen before. I think Dom likes Leonard Cohen, does he?
Yeah, I think so.
And I know, like, I don't like his voice. I don't like how the music is sort of presented. But that cover, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I listened to it again and I listened to it again, and then I added it to my favorite songs, all of that. And it was only because of Spotify that I even heard it at all. So the connection is that obviously, like about 2 years ago, I think we put all our stuff on Spotify. And in terms of consumption, like with the embrace of streaming and all of that, then it seems to be certainly it's harder to make a living from music now, but in a way it's easier to get your music out there to a completely different audience.
It's a real double-edged sword.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it really is.
At the moment.
But I kind of think that, it's things that make music more accessible are ultimately a positive thing. But in terms of distribution, streaming is basically the new distribution, and consumption is also streaming. And with streaming, I mean, I probably need to think about, and this is why I would like to talk to Gerard at the next concert regarding this. But in terms of consumption, if people are streaming, then there's potentially a much wider pool of things that people can actually access than there ever has been. Because even when back in the 80s and 90s, if you were listening to, you would still be listening to John Peel, or you'd be listening to the evening session. That's how you would find out what was coming out and what you might like. But actually having something that works on your algorithm to think of the sort of thing you might like, and I mean, I might be completely naive about this, and it might just all be like an algorithm that's paid for, which it might be, but I think it's kind of pretty amazing that a track that was released in 2006 was played to me in 2025, which I really, really liked, and I hadn't there was 19 years in which it existed. I'd never heard it, and then I heard it, and it was amazing. So I kind of think that's sort of a positive. There you go, Gerard.
I think there's an old saying, which is you pays your money and you takes your choice. But I think with all art these days, you don't pay your money and you still take your choice. So that would be how I'd sum it up. And that's not necessarily bad.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, there seems to be like there needs some kind of realignment in terms of payment, I think, but it's just how that's going to happen. It's going to take some big artists to make a move, and whether they're willing to do that, I don't know.
But in terms of distribution and consumption, I feel like with you have a radio show slash podcast, and me and Jimmy don't. Me and Jimmy barely listen to any music at all, and if we can avoid picking up a guitar, we will. So really, I'm interested to
It's a good plug for the album, isn't it?
Question, and I'd like to only if you're forced to. I'm interested to know like how people who do like actively consume music kind of do it.
Well, how I pick up on new music?
Yeah. How do you find new music?
It is released radio. Pardon?
As a Harry.
As Harry?
Yeah, as a Harry.
All right. Yeah, it would be release radio on Spotify as my main source, depressingly.
Right. Okay. So you're like you kind of subscribe to the Spotify thing as well?
Yeah, like I do. I keep meaning to listen more to like Six Music and stuff, but it's just so easy to like just find a playlist every Friday.
But also on Six Music, which I have like tried to listen to, it's like I don't want to hear what this person's talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Music that I might like, and it's like having to like listen to like 2 hours or whatever of like stuff that I can't be bothered to listen to 2 hours of stuff that is probably to my mind just crap. When I could just listen to some stuff that I might like without someone talking.
Yeah, and you can skip a song that doesn't take your fancy after 30 seconds. Yeah. No, yeah. I'll keep my Spotify kind of the free service, but I think I'm gonna open an account on Quobus or whatever it's called. I think that's my.
Will you send me a DM to let us know how you get on, Harry?
With what the new streaming service?
Yeah, I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, I might make a TikTok on it, mate. I'll send you it. All right. Yeah, let's crack back into the songs then. The aforementioned Cribs. Is this one of yours, Jimmy?
It is indeed, yes. And we've already mentioned sort of like how important they were to us, really. And they kindly took us on tour with them in 2004. And like from the first 5 seconds of seeing them, probably soundcheck actually, I thought I love this band, and I've just been following them ever since. We've done loads of gigs with them. I've got pretty much all their albums, and they really remind me of a lot of music that I still love from sort of like the punk and new wave era. They've got that kind of buzzcock sound to them, which I love, that classic sound. And the song I picked, I could have picked pretty much anything, but I think I picked something from the first album called You Were Always the One. And I just think it sums them up perfectly. It's just brilliant, sort of slightly left field melodic guitar pop. Just beautiful.
Yes. Okay, well, let's play it then. Here's the Cribs with You Were Always the One. And then the next one, I believe, was voted best song of the 21st century so far by Rolling Stone. Missy Elliott.
Would be one of your choices.
Yeah. This is my choice, and I bought this when this came out. In I think it was 2001, and I've got the 12-inch single of this, and it's the only thing I've got by Missy Elliott. I mean, I've got a lot of time for her. I think she's brilliant, but I don't know too much about her really. And I know she's huge, superstar, deservedly so. But I love this song so much. The energy behind it is one of the things I love. And I was kind of reading up on it, and apparently it's got sort of like Indian Bhangra influences in it, which kind of makes sense now I've read that. But I don't think I picked up on that at the time. But I like sort of fast, energetic music amongst other things, and again it takes me back to that sort of punk mentality as well, in a weird way, even though I know it isn't that similar really musically, but I think it's the energy thing. And I do a club night. I've been doing a club night where I DJ. I've been doing it nearly 15 years now. And still, I play that song nearly every month, and it still kicks off. You know, people love it. It fills the floor, and I love it as much now as I did then, sort of almost 25 years ago. So yeah, I'm not surprised it's voted the best song of the century so far. So yeah, Missy Elliott, get your freak on.
Yes. That'd have been a good one for you to walk onto, wouldn't it, as well?
Yeah, yeah, too good, too good.
And then next
Harry,
one.
whilst you're having a break, sorry. You know, I sent you the second email with just a couple more questions on from people. That late one.
Right.
Have you got access to that as well? Just so
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how I could fit.
Oh no, fair enough.
I was trying to make sense of them,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think we might have covered them already, really.
Okay.
But I can. Do you want me to ask one of them, basically?
Yeah, just so they're not missed out, because then
Okay.
everyone will have been included. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks.
I feel like we've probably answered number one. Okay, then one more question from Enna's elsewhere. Uh, yeah, we'll try out. Well, maybe we can ask the first one. Looking back, sorry, I'll do it again. Looking back, that was the one key moment for you personally, or one for the band that set a new direction, and what followed on from it.
Yeah. Should I go for that first, Johnny?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, we've touched on this earlier, actually, Harry, but it was the time when we sent the demo off to Alan McGee. That was almost a bit of a sliding doors moment, I feel, and I can actually remember sort of posting it off. I remember the post box that it went into, and that sounds a bit nerdy, but it's true. And as Johnny touched on earlier, we were doing a gig in Brighton in the summer down at the Concord, and it was like loads of Brighton bands playing. And I think we were getting ready to sound check. We were standing outside, and Dom come down from London, walking down towards the venue, and he said, "Listen to this." And it was Anna McGee going, "Got your demo, Dom. I love all the songs, particularly This Is for the Poor." And for someone like me, who was a huge fan with a lot of respect for Anna McGee, already that was such a moment for me, and I think everything changed then for me. I thought, oh right, something's actually really properly happening here, and so it proved to be. So yeah, that was my moment, definitely.
What about yourself, Johnny?
Okay, so in terms of a new direction, my moment was like recording a second album, because that actually enabled us to do a different approach and have a new direction a little bit. So I mean, I think that was because I mean, like it was amazing to have Alan's interest in us, obviously, but it didn't, for me, it certainly didn't change the way I wanted to do things or change like anything. But like having the potential to do a second album on a record label, I think was an opportunity to sort of showcase a different side of us. And I think actually we did that really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it for me. Second album.
Yeah, and I know people are always interested in like how people's careers pan out. Like, what other things did he get up to apart from the music? Say after the early 2000s, after the second album type era.
What did we get up to?
What other career paths did you go down apart from music?
Well, I went and got my favourite job ever, actually, which was driving the oldest electric railway in the world, which is down in Brighton. The Volks Railway runs it's about a mile and a half, I think, along the coast, and it was a seasonal job, but I worked there for about 4 or 5 summers, and I loved that job. Yeah, it's still my favourite job ever. So yeah, driving the train down there in the summer, brilliant. That was mine.
I've been working in ecology for a while, which is exciting, and it gets me outdoors. So that was good because it kind of gave me another opportunity to do something different.
Yeah, yeah. I think Dom described the band as like having 5 years off work or something. He put it like the first few years or whatever.
It wasn't long enough, really.
Better than most people,
No, I meant the time off.
Then yeah, next song, a bit of a link with you, Jimmy. Obviously, Block Party could have been with Kelly.
Oh yeah.
But why this particular song?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I've mentioned the story first. I mean, first of all, I'm a big Block Party fan, and I bought their first two albums, and I really rate them highly. Um, I love the sort of the sensitivity of them and Kelly mixed with the kind of metallic sound of their guitars and that, and I just think they write really, really lovely songs. And actually, Kelly's voice reminds me of Robert Smith, and I'm a big Cure fan, and yeah, I love that about them. But yeah, the story. But back in, I have told this before, but back in the '90s, when I was looking to start a band and trying to look outside of Brighton, me and my friend, we started advertising in NME and Melody Maker. And we got also we were looking for a singer, and we got all sorts of replies of some weird and wonderful people got back to us, and very few of them, it seemed, had read the kind of influences that we were going for. But I got a call from a lovely young man who said who was Kelly from London, and he was at school at the time, and he was looking to form his first band. And yeah, it did turn out that it was Kelly who later went on to form Block Party. And I spoke about it. We met Block Party a few times over the years, and I spoke to him about it. And
Japan.
Well, we spoke to him in Japan, but
with ambient sushi.
Yeah, but prior to that, I think it was at the NME Awards actually
Okay.
that I first spoke to him, and he did say, yeah, that he was sending out where he was contacting people through the NME and Melody Maker back then in the late '90s, and but it never happened, unfortunately. But as I probably said to you before, it's probably good because the world did get Block Party and the others, so everyone's a winner.
Yeah,
and he's a lovely man. Kelly's lovely. He's really sweet, a real sweetheart. And Silent Alarm, their first album, I think is brilliant. And this song is Blue Light, which is one of the more sort of contemplative sort of songs. And yeah, I love it. So yeah, Block Party, Blue Light.
Yes.
We're taking a moment just to appreciate the fact that you could have had just Block Party or just Flowers, but in fact you had both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go see him this year. They're touring with Interpol later this year.
Oh.
So that should be good.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then down to Baby Bird. Whose choice was this?
Yes, at this point.
No
offense.
I don't think Jimmy likes Baby
Bird. Yes, I do. I do.
Right, Baby Bird. I'd forgotten it was so late on. I was hoping everything would be done early. Let me find it. Okay, so very underrated songwriter. I like how simple the songs are. I like how big he got with a song that was actually very, very dark. And then I like how, to be honest, you got the F word because, like, if it was like not as restricted, I would have done Bad Old Man, because it was really the second album by Baby Bird that kind of really blew me away. So I quite liked the first album, but the second album where he kind of came out with very, very dark stuff and completely different, quite kind of sort of almost confrontational just because of how dark it was. I thought that was like quite a bold move. F Word, I think, is a great track. But I think in terms of, like, when Matt was asking about if I prefer playing bass or guitar, in terms of playing guitar, I have a different sort of set of influences. So, like, certainly Baby Bird and Eels would be where I would come from in terms of writing songs on guitar rather than bass. I love how simple the songs are and how dark the lyrics are often. But I think F Word is good because it's like a little bit it's different. It was kind of punky and raw, sounding. It was, I think, probably completely unexpected that he would come out with something like that. I think it's been a bit spoiled because it was used for the Gordon Ramsay show. But the fact that he came out with that after all of that stuff, I think, is quite a bold move and quite interesting.
Cool. All right, let's play it then. Here's Baby Bird with the F word. Yeah, do you think some people sometimes overcomplicate songwriting a little bit? Like they don't let themselves
I
be
don't think
simple.
we do.
No, yeah, but I think like
Complicate songwriting.
people don't allow themselves to be simple sometimes, do they? Maybe I'm basing. Don't know. Yeah.
So, like,
I agree with that, Harry. Yeah, definitely.
I think the whole idea, like, I mean, we will both agree on this, but guitar virtuosoing is of no interest or like, I think it has zero interest for us, and it shows zero creativity. Really, it's like you might as well be processing accounts if you're like guitar virtuosoing. I'd rather. Like I really like. I mean, as I said before, I like how Jimmy plays the guitar because it's unusual, and it is kind of stripped down. But I think like this aspiration to sound like Jimi Hendrix or to sound like so many like guitar virtuosos, I think it's like, well, why bother? Firstly, because if anything of note was done, they'd probably already done it. Secondly, who like so there was a Jesus and Mary Chain interview where they said something along the lines of, "We do things with a guitar that was it Jimi Hendrix or someone else has nightmares about Phil Collins, someone like that, where you kind of like actually abusing the guitar to sound innovative is actually has far more worth than playing the guitar really well, because playing guitar really well has been done for quite a long time, and it wasn't that good in the first place, really, was it?
I mean, I think I always think
like the Beatles.
There's a place for me.
Like the Beatles. I don't. Would you like to see the Beatles, Harry? After the Beatles have already happened?
Say that again, sorry.
Would you like to sound like the Beatles this long after the Beatles already happened?
Best not to be a derivative, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly.
But I also think there's a place for musical virtuosity, and I still don't think I said that right. Sorry, but if I'm going to see a classical concert, I want to see people that can play their instruments properly, and in jazz, I want to see some good chops on that. But I think in pop music, often it's not about being great at your instrument, and I think you should play with your heart and not so much your head. But everyone to themselves, like what you like. But going back to your point, I think sometimes we do overcomplicate pop songs. You often hear these stories about some of the greatest pop songs are written in 5 minutes. They just come to you, and I think you should keep the essence of what you've got when you stumble across something like that. Just keep it and don't overcomplicate it.
There's a lot to be said with songs that might actually originate from someone who can't really play guitar compared to songs that would originate from someone who can play guitar really well. I think the songs that originate from someone who can play guitar really well will almost sound contrived because it would be too derivative and too predictable. Whereas someone who's like, if someone can pick up a guitar for the first time and come up with something that sounds good, I think actually that has far more value than someone that has been playing guitar for 20 years and is trying to do something planned. Do you know what I mean? I think like actually something that comes, it's like something that comes from the heart is far more resounding than something that comes from experience.
Yeah, I get what you mean, definitely. And then coming to the last song then, The Pains of Being Pure at Heart. Whose choice was this?
That was my choice, Harry. And I don't. All I know about this band is they're from New York City. I think this single came out in 2009 from probably their first album, and I must have heard it on Six Music, I guess, and I bought it on 7 inch when it came out, and I mean, it's just my kind of song. It's fast, furious, melodic, really guitar heavy. But it reminds me of something that might have come out of the C86 movement over here back in the mid 80s. And there was a lot of kind of alternative indie bands around then that I really like. Bands like the Flatmates and the Shop Assistants, stuff like that, the Field Mice. A real indie ethic going on, alternative kind of stuff, guitar based. Didn't It wasn't very commercial, but pains a bit. The pains of being pure at heart really put me in mind of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a brilliant 7 inch single called "Come Saturday." Hope you enjoy it.
Yes. All right, yes, guys. Cheers for your time.
All right.
Yeah,
Over
do you want?
2.5 hours.
Oh God, thanks, Harry.
No. Imagine if you played the songs.
yeah, fair point.
Yeah, where do people head to check out new album news, gig news, and all that? Is it all the usual socials?
So we should do. So it's the othersuk.bandcamp.com, which is where the new album will be released. It will be on Spotify if you search the Others UK, probably, or the Others. Where else will it be?
YouTube, probably.
Probably
You can
YouTube,
yeah. Others UK again, I think.
Is it? Okay. We should see. I did all of these pages of notes for your questions, and I neglected to write down the social media links.
But Bandcamp's a definite good starting point. Yeah.
But thank you for having us.
Thanks, Harry.
No worries, yeah. I guess maybe one that I haven't asked Johnny that I usually ask people is what was the high point of the early days of being in the band? If we've not covered it already, I don't know.
What was the high point? Well, I was like getting the single deal, playing in Japan, playing a tube gig. Like continuing to bother. Probably. I mean, like it's like because we could easily have stopped bothering, but then it wouldn't have been so good, would it? So yeah, like I think there's a lot of like so the song choices that I chose, I think they're actually kind of a little bit dark but quite optimistic, and I think what's important is finding things that you like and you appreciate in whatever it is that you do and zoning in on those things. So the highlight was like keeping on really, because if we hadn't done that, which would have been very easy at various points to where you could have said, oh, I'm not in debt. The fact that we kind of all kept that, I think actually probably a lot of people wouldn't have done that. And I think that's actually quite valuable. I think it's like much more interesting that you have multiple influences in creating whatever it is that you create. So you do something that doesn't sound like derivative. Yeah, the high point was like it was a fun trip. Would you say?
Yeah.
And the most that we ever laughed in the band before 2020 was when we were passively stoned on the back of a van at the TK festival, where we, as a band, hadn't laughed as much as that ever. That was probably the most laughter we had in the early days. Does that answer your question, Harry?
Okay, yes. Well, I've realised I nearly missed a song out, but so we'll have to finish with this one instead. Yes, Maps.
Oh God, yeah.
So was that one of yours, Jimmy?
That is one of mine, Harry. Yeah. Again, I just really love this. It's so heartfelt. I mean, I'm sure you and plenty of people have seen the video. Karen O is she's crying in it, and I believe she wrote it about her partner Nick, who's the guitarist in the AES, when he used to go off on tour with this other band called Liars, I think they were called, and she'd follow around on the maps where he was on tour, and obviously she was missing him, and she wrote a song about that, and I just think we've been talking about certain guitar styles kind of like underplayed, and I think Nick Zimmer is a brilliant guitarist, and you can hear that so well in this song. Very very kind of understated, but the song has a massive dynamism about it too. And I love everything about it. I love her vocal, love the music, love the sentiment. And they played at a tiny, tiny venue in Brighton. Anyone who knows Brighton, the Free Butt, which is sadly closed now, I think it held like 100 people. And I got to see them play there in, I don't know when, early 2000s. But it was so packed that you could literally barely see the band, but I got to hear them at least, and so that was a real moment as well. But just an absolutely beautiful song. Yeah, Matt's
Okay, yes.
by yes.
All right, spot on.
The only AES song I like is the Diplo remix of Gold Lion.
Okay.
If
I'll check it
anyone's
out.
interested. Presumably that's being broadcast as well.
Yeah, can I have that as a finishing point? Why not? All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers, Harry.
Harry.
Thank you so much.
Nice to finally see you. Can't hide behind your podcast anymore.
I've started to put my face out there a bit more, yeah. But
yeah, thanks for having us.
It's been lovely, Harry. Thank you.